Hey folks, Jackdaw here. You're not fumbling through Santa Monica as a newborn anymore. In Bloodlines 2, you wake in Seattle, a Camarilla city where Anarchs are branded, hunters prowl, and the Masquerade hangs by a thread. At its heart, a murder with no clear killer. And that is what we are covering in this video, a spoiler-lite primer on the factions, the faces, and the initial story setup. Who runs Seattle, who you'll meet, and how your choices will shape those relationships. Maybe you'll even spot a character here you'll want to get to know even more when you play. Right in the middle of this murder mystery, you arise. An elder born in the 17th century, fresh out of a century in torpor, with another voice in your head. Strange markings carved into your skin, and a reputation that precedes you. Some call you the Nomad, a survivor whose legend follows wherever you go. The rumours are contradictory, half true, sometimes absurd, but in Seattle, they matter. This time, the role-playing isn't buried in the stat sheets like the original game, it's all in the conversation. Every face will remember what you say and how you particularly said it. Feed, flirt, forge alliances, twist the myth, or let it bury you. And so, let's start at the top of Seattle's food chain, the Camarilla. Now this isn't Los Angeles in Bloodlines 1. Seattle isn't an Anarch free-for-all. It's been under Camarilla rule for a century. Their grip is everywhere. They call themselves the face of civilized vampire society, enforcing the Masquerade with their Armani polish and pure feudal ruthlessness. At the center is Weaver Tower, to mortals a mere skyscraper in Seattle, but to kindred it is the throne. From here, the court decides who feeds, who prospers, and who gets staked. The hierarchy is familiar. The prince commands, the seneschal smooths things over, primogen speak for their clans, the sheriff cracks skulls, and the scourge cleans up the rest. In Bloodlines 2, you will meet the face behind each of those titles. Prince J.J. Campbell is supposedly on the throne, consolidating power through politics, business, and the underworld. But Seattle has never really stopped being Lou Graham's city. She abdicated the throne in the 80s, passing the crown to her protege, yet her influence still runs deep. She pulls the strings between politicians, criminals, and old money, and she'll happily tell you which clan she despises to your face. Campbell's seneschal, Ryong Chow, is Lou's other child. She's the operator, the deal maker, who keeps the court running and cuts whatever threatens stability. If the prince wants something done without dirtying his own hands, Ryong does it. In a city that volatile, that makes her a real threat behind the scenes. Michael Tully Tulliver is the Nosferatu Herald. Yet, unlike most of his clan, he's not hiding in the sewers. You're actually going to find him out in the streets, cracking jokes while digging up dirt and making sure the court always knows where the pressure points are. Nosferatu William Axel takes the opposite approach. He never shows his face, but he doesn't exactly need to. He's the archivist, the keeper of secrets, debts, and betrayals stretching back an entire century. For muscle, the court leans on Sheriff Benny Muldoon, a Bruja who also happens to captain the Seattle Police Department. You could say he enforces the Masquerade by night and the law by day. He openly hunts thin bloods, despises them, and if you cross the Camarilla, he is the one who comes down knocking. And he'll actually take center stage in the Loose Cannon DLC if you are interested in that. The court's Tremere, Safia Ulisoy, is more distracted than dangerous, at least at first glance. An excitable researcher obsessed with Seattle's thin blood population. But under all of that enthusiasm is blood sorcery, and that always comes with teeth. And finally, Isabella Moore, Toreador Primogen, nightclub diva, and queen of the club, the Atrium. To mortals, she is throwing the city's most lit, wildest events ever. But to kindred, she is flirting dangerously with Masquerade breaches. And she is central enough to the court to get her own DLC, the Flower and the Flame. And that is the Camarilla court as we know so far. Polished, ruthless, and watching every single one of your moves. Though I suppose we should technically still talk about Fabian. He was a part of the Camarilla once, our Malkavian PI who cleaned up Masquerade breaches back in the 1940s. But after his murder, his consciousness wound up trapped in Fire's head. And now he is your partner, your commentator, and your second perspective on Seattle. Even if he has no memory of how he ended up dead, that is up to you to solve. If the Camarilla are the polished face of vampire society, the Anarchs are the ones spitting in their champagne. In Bloodlines 1, Los Angeles was their turf. Seattle isn't that. Here, the Anarchs and the wider Unbound are shoved to the margins. Some hide in plain sight with mortal lives, others fight back, clawing out scraps of territory and daring the court to take them. And tied to them are the Thin Bloods, kindred so far from Cain that their power has diluted. Most clans see them as weak, embarrassing, even dangerous. Campbell allows them to live, but only if they are branded. Kindred, Anarchs, and Unbound all alike now gather under Bruja leader Katsumi Ishizaki, who was branded herself for defending them. She never asked to lead, but the outcasts trust her. And if you're looking for her, you'll likely find her at the Hole in the Wall, a dive bar turned refuge. Max Weber is another Bruja under this group, but an odd one, quiet, submissive, and politically absent. His only real tie is to his child, Sheriff Benny Muldoon. And this kind of strange, odd relationship, you know, you've got this sire in the shadows with then his child commanding the court, it makes Max a kindred worth watching. Then there's Nicola Nix Lee, a gangrel who's brash, violent, and plainly out of place in this city. She has no time for the games of the court, but that makes her a wild card, or a weapon, depending on who gets to her first. On the streets, the Anarchs are the first real opposition you'll face. Gangs of Thin Bloods, ghouls, and young kindred, armed with whatever they can grab. They don't move with the discipline of the Camarilla, but that unpredictability is exactly what makes them dangerous. They don't have skyscrapers, titles, or thrones, but they make up for that in numbers, simmering under the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike. And so, if the Anarchs are kindred spitting at the court, the hunters are something else entirely. Mortals who know exactly what you are and come armed to deal with it. The most organised are the Information and Awareness Office, the IAO. Officially defunded, in truth they run on a black budget, disguising vampire strikes as simple training missions. Where Anarchs fight the streets of Seattle with scraps and anger, the IAO hit like a paramilitary. Heavy armor, thermal weapons, and squad tactics sharp enough to make even an elder think twice. At their head is Agent Baker, a pragmatist who treats hunting vampires like a methodical and scientific practice. Her agents call her Mother Hen, and she lives up to that name, doggedly investigating every unexplained death, every disappearance, determined to understand her prey so she can wipe it out completely. On the ground, the IOA are some of the hardest enemies in Bloodlines 2. Snipers with explosive crossbow bolts, melee troops with thermal batons that punish every strike, grenaders flushing you out with phosphor fire, all of it backed by radios, night vision, and coordinated patrols. They move in squads, they cover each other, and they will drag you out of hiding. Harbour Island, one of their strongholds, is one of Bloodlines 2's biggest combat space, packed with thermal barriers and multiple infiltration routes. But the IOA aren't the only hunters stalking Seattle. There are whispers of Santiago, an ancient killer. In the early 20th century, whole coteries were wiped out in San Francisco and New Orleans, each scene marked with an ornate iron cross. Some say Santiago was part of the Society of Leopold, zealots waging war against the damned. Whether that's true or not, one thing is certain: the trail leads here, to Seattle. And the last group to cover is the Mortals, Seattle's ordinary people, tangled in the vampire underworld without even knowing it, bless them. Some of them know too much, some know nothing at all, but every single one of them is shaped by the kindred. For example, Pandora Graves drifts into vampire bars in velvet and eyeliner, convinced she is the protagonist of her own gothic novel, armed with just enough knowledge to get herself killed. Verona Delancey ran from her rich family chasing excitement, only to find a death threat tucked in her purse. Dale Beecher brews elixirs in his cluttered flat, dimly aware of kindred the same way he is aware of cleaning products, vaguely and without much concern. Mr. Lemon has spent days in the drunk tank muttering about citrus fruit. Guru, a biker near the Dutchman, swears he can see literal ghosts. Carla, once a paramedic, now hands out stolen medicine on the streets. Reggie sleeps rough in Pioneer Square, claiming he hears the city's heartbeat. Marigold works the streets near the atrium. Shelby abandoned finance for doomsday sermons, warning uptown crowds about the upcoming rapture. And Officer Wheeler, it would seem steady on the surface, but he's actually plagued by memory lapses that suggest something altogether darker. In Bloodlines 2, what you do with them matters. You can feed, exploit, charm, or simply let them walk away. Some will fear you, some will obsess over you, and some will end up dead because of you. And in a nutshell, that is Seattle. The court wants loyalty, the Anarchs want fire, the hunters want your ashes, and the poor blasted mortals, they just want to make it through the night. Somewhere in that mess, somebody is already pulling the strings, and the first body has dropped. So play carefully, feed carefully, and speak carefully. Everyone's listening, and every single word carries opinion and consequence. The only question left now is, what kind of elder will you be? What kind of dialogue route will you be taking? And which kind of characters or factions gravitate towards you the most? I am still very much quite excited for Bloodlines 2, now that I have managed my own expectations for what this game will be in terms of an RPG. You can check out my previous video if you'd like more on that, or if you would like to level your own expectations. But I would love to know what you're thinking about this game down below. But until the next one, I have been Jackdaw, and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.